Hey guys, so I initially filmed this video 2 days ago, and then when I went to put it into Final Cut Pro, the viewfinder on my camera, well, the lens on my camera I had on autofocus because sometimes that works well, but I have found that it does not work with the closer shot as well as it does with like when I do like a wider shot. So I didn't like that it kept going back and forth. I found that very obnoxious, and I felt like because this was a more visual video, it was better if I just redid it. So I'm reshooting it on my beloved iPhone, and I think it looks pretty good. We're gonna get a super off the cuff video of me talking about my babies, my Commander decks. First things first, this is a shirt, not a bra. Hey everyone, Editor Princess here. I just wanted to class up this video a little bit, so I'm coming in with a bit of colorful commentary that makes it sound as if I actually know what I'm talking about a little bit better. For those of you who did not watch the Tolarian Community College video that I did with the professor, I started playing Magic a little over 2 years ago now, and I got into Magic mostly through Commander by watching the Command Zone, MTG Musta, playing with Power, MTG, and I watch so many Commander based videos. Quest for the Jank Lord, who I love, they're amazing and hilarious. All the game night stuff, the Spike Feeders, and then of course Commander Quarters, who is like so kind and amazing. I have like 1 or 2 modern decks that I just kind of throw together sometimes, but overall I mostly play Commander, and I have 8 decks. When it comes to me and deck building, I don't think I have really mastered it yet. I'm still kind of in the process of figuring out what I like. I'm very aesthetically minded. That was my big problem when I was playing Pokemon as well. I was like, but I want a cute party, I want synergy, blah 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 blah. And I was like, it took me a long time to be like, you know what, sis, sometimes you need Eradicate on your team, because that hyper bite, would it hit, that's 50%. I would build decks just based on what I was really into. So for example, with my first Commander deck, also I'm really into having like cute boxes and sleeves. So this is the box of my first Commander deck. Yeah, my original Commander in these TARDIS sleeves, which I love. And I remember I won my first game of Magic because I was playing against someone who had a Mikaeus deck, and they had like 6 billion zombie tokens, and I was just sitting there, I had my mana pool. I was just like, I'm just gonna pass my turn, and I guess I'm just gonna get attacked with like 65 million zombies. What will I do? I played Subjugator Angel, tapped all creatures that my opponent controlled, and that was fire. And then I was able to play, because I had both of them in my hand, Sunblast Angel, and when this came up, it destroyed all of his zombies, and he had no way to regenerate at the time, and Gisela was out, so I basically just hit him in the face with like all of my lovely angels for double damage, and it was great. I am now currently upgrading the deck. I have a new angel commander, Rainy or Renee, whatever she wants to call herself, Angel of Rebirth, mostly because of green. One of my big things with angels is like, while I love it and I love the aesthetics of it, I feel like they don't have like an Edgar Markov, like Edgar Markov is like the perfect vampire commander because you get benefits from having other, angels on the field. And I feel like, and you have the color, the broadness of color, where I feel like with angels, there isn't a card that really works with the best colors that angels are for, which are red and white, and yet still allows you to create more angels, even if it's just tokens. Like, you need so many other things, and there is no commander that comes close to helping you build that kind of angel entourage. So I use Renee to have green because I just feel like green allows you to produce more mana, and you need mana if you're gonna play an angel deck. Things you will realize as I go through these decks is I like playing with commanders that are a little bit more on theme and tactile. I'm a player that really loves to just bash, with the exception of like 1 or 2. So that's why I have angels, because that just kind of hits my sweet spot. First of all, I totally misremembered that game. I actually won by playing Angel of the Dire Hour first and then playing that second angel card because Dire Hour has flash. And I do have things like Ursa's Incubator and Icon of Ancestry and Quicksilver Amulet in this deck to kind of allow me to get these angels out faster. So that's basically my goal with this deck, is to just kind of curate it to make it stronger. I still want to have majority angels in the deck, maybe put in Sarah the Benevolent just so I can have some angel tokens, even though I think that she could be a better angel planeswalker, but that's a separate conversation. Also, while I'm here, I did a video with Mitch from the Command Quarters talking about my favorite tribes and that I think that could use a little bit more love. I'm sorry we don't get into more niche ones like monks and druids. I'm basic. I like angels and elves and vampires, but that video is really great. I'll link to it down below. It was a lot of fun to do. My second deck that I ever built was Elf Tribal, and I've gone through 3 different commanders. I've done Morrowind, I've done that other dude. I'll put the pictures of them up here. The one I have now for this deck, Fairlease Lenoir's Fury. She has the ability to create more tokens that give you mana, and that's what elves are good for, man. Like, you have an elf deck, you're gonna have mana. So this is like a mono green elf deck, right? And I've got Game of Thrones sleeves, and you would think, oh, Tyrell, obviously earthy. No, I have Targaryen sleeves in my Vivian box. This is another deck that I'm currently working on upgrading because I try to do different commanders at first, and I've just been saving up to buy some pieces that'll just kind of allow me to make full advantage of the fact that I wanted this to just really be a mono green elf deck, because while they're like Selesnya is a really good color combination for elves, I felt like I got the most elf-based synergy by having it be green, which was hard because I felt like, you know, when you have green and red, you have some really good combos. Like, if there was a green, red, and white elf commander, that would be like one of the perfect combination, because those are like the best colors you can have for elves, because then you can get, you know, my girl Rada, because Rada's a queen. Big thing for me is just finding some end game creatures to just This deck is pretty much a baby deck in terms of it being very much for casual play. I wanted, and I still want to have fun with elves in this deck, and this kind of allows me to do so. As part of my growth, I am going to add some Beastie Boys to this deck, but only a few, because I really do, when I make a theme deck, like to stick to the integrity of the theme. But I also think it's fine to let the elves have some worm pets. So originally, when I was trying to find a color elf deck, I originally was going to go with Mael of the Anima, because she has the 3 colors that I said would be great for an elf deck. However, she's a card that you use to get power 5 or greater on the field. Like, that's not what elves are. It's just not useful for that kind of format. So this deck became my big beastie deck, and my sleeves for this deck are Madoka Magica sleeves, because I just love that like all of my big boy cards are in like these like magical girl sleeves. It delights me. But it's pretty consistent because Mael just has the best colors. Like, this is my favorite color combination. This is my favorite deck. It has really good synergy with itself. It has ways of bringing stuff back with Sun Titan. There are ways of getting more mana. There are great ramp cards in this. Also, because I have Seaborn Muse, and I learned this when I played with Tappy, is that like with Seaborn Muse, I can like, and if I have the colors, I can use Mael every turn on everyone else's turn to tap and untap and get, you know, more creatures on the field. And most of the creatures that I have that are big creatures can give me more effects, stop my opponents from attacking me. It's a really fun deck. It lets me do what I love to do in Magic, which is beat people up with my creatures. As I said in this video, this deck mostly wins by crushing my opponents with beasties, which I love, but there are a few other win conditions that I put in here for a little bit of, you know, growth and flavor. The main one being Mael's Aria, which does the triple delight of adding counters to all of my creatures, giving me life, and allowing me to win the game if I control a creature with over power 20 or greater. And if Doubling Season or Beastmaster Ascension is on the field, then that's not very hard to do. So huzzah, I love it. There's also Warstorm Surge, which allows me to just do direct damage to people's heads when I play my beasties. So, you know, I love that. I love all of my decks, right? There are two outliers where like I love them less, but I love them, you know? It's like, and the first of those two is this deck. When I started playing with my pod, my same pod that I have from today, they are all more experienced players. They've all been playing for like years and have like all of these old cards that I have like no idea what they are until they pull them out, and I'm like, huh, that card does what? And I was like, oh, I need something to compete with them. So I just went on, I was like, what is the most annoying commander that I could play as? And I found him, and it was Grand Arbiter Augustine the Fourth, Leia Jabba the Hutt Killer sleeves, which, you know, I think, you know, makes it a little bit more satisfying. I hate playing this deck. It is terrible, and it's terrible for two reasons. One, I don't like to play aggressively, like stack stuff, because like you're not really playing Magic, even though it's very effective. And the other reason why I hate playing this deck is that the win con of this deck is exhaustion. And there was a while I was like, I should add stuff to it, and I was like, or much like Caligula, do I just want to exhaust my partners when I play with them? Sorry, that was a history joke. Both times that I've won with this deck have been via exhaustion. Like just having opponents just be like, all right, we're done, you win. It's terrible. I don't like it. I don't like playing as that. But the few times I have done it have all been situations where it's been like, okay, I'm in a mood. I'm in a grumpy mood, so I'm just gonna just play my grumpy deck. This is my grump deck. Just the most generic stacks deck that you could build. It's not really that interesting. It's just really good at getting the job done. And because of that, I love it, but it is stacks, so we can only love it so much. I have two Sisay decks because one of the things that I wanted to do when I played Magic was I loved that there were some really prominent black characters in it, like, you know, Vivian Teferi, who's like, you know, the Obama of Magic, basically. When Sisay, the Weatherlight Captain, came out as like a Wooburg card, I was like, oh great, I can build two decks with this. So I bought like, I think 4 copies of it, and I have 2 Sisay decks. One of them is a legendary themed deck. A lot of this deck I actually use a lot of advice from Command Quarters to build it, even though it's more expensive than a Command Quarters deck. It's like, I think this is about $300, is my janky black deck, which by black deck, I will show you what I mean. Sleeves for these are Vivian. And what I did with this deck is that every, if there is a face in the card, that person is black, or at least one of the people is in there. So that was, it wasn't as difficult as you'd expect, but it did require some finagling. And the biggest thing with it is that it made it so this deck has some very specific win conditions that are kind of hard to sometimes put together. I haven't won with this deck yet, but I haven't played with it enough. Yet at the same time, it's probably a deck that every time I pull it out, I enjoy it, because I enjoy getting to see the fruits of my labor. Like, what a great card design. I love this one. For me, it's a way of celebrating cards that look like me and look like players that should have a bigger place in Magic, and I just think it's fun. And then with my other Sisay deck, which also has great sleeves, with this one, I'm so silly. This deck is just a generic legendary deck. I am actually thinking about switching it out and making it a Planeswalker deck. I know shrines are the big thing now. That's why lately Sisay has been in like the top 10, because people are like, oh, we could do that shrine thing because you can just bring them out and you know, it makes Sisay stronger and everything like that. So I might do that because I find that kind of intriguing, but I also like legendary creatures more than I like Planeswalkers. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with this deck, it was a concept, and now I haven't really spent a lot of time with this one. This is why this would be my Job. Rashmi Eternity's Crafter, my Simic deck with my Katana sleeves, which are my favorite design sleeves. I think that these are the most comfortable sleeves I've owned. I have Dragon Shields and I've had Ultra Pro. These are my favorite. I love this deck. It gets really, really great ramp. I like every time I play this deck, even if I don't win, I have a great time. It just has great synergy. Everything kind of moves together. It's counter based, and that's always fun to play. I have Pure and Toothy in this deck. I have, Seedborn Muse in this deck. There are just so many things that make this fun to play. The fact that I can always get some new cards. Rashmi is a really great commander, and because of the colors in this deck, it's just very easy to ramp. I never get a hand that I can't use. I've had to mulligan maybe a few times playing it, but even though this is one of my newest decks, it has been probably the most delightful that I've gotten to play. I need to get some of those tutor cards that are very expensive. But even though it doesn't have all of the optimal parts to make it like a high competitive deck, it's a really good high casual deck. Finally, a deck I cannot be ashamed of, because I know my decks are so silly and I'm sorry, but I love them. A lot of cards in this deck build on each other really well to do my favorite thing, create more counters to make my creatures big and strong. Just their Wheaties. I also have Contagion Engine to help add to that by putting those negative counters and allowing the proliferate elements to affect that. There's also Telepathy, which is always fun. I have been able to use that one time and it's really good. More fun on paper than when you're playing it online. And then there's Civic Ascendancy, which allows me to put all of those extra counters I'm accumulating to good use. My final deck, Lycia Sanguine Tribute, my vampire deck. The most expensive deck that I own, and I have yet to win a game with it. This is a deck because of the colors. It doesn't have as much ramp as it could. I have, a Smothering Tide, I have land tax, I have all of those things, but it still needs, I need to buy a mana crypt. When that comes out, I'm gonna have to just put in the money and just buy some of those because I need it for this deck. Even though there are probably more white and black cards than red in this particular deck, I still find myself I need to have all of my colors in my hand, at least one. White is a little bit more than the other colors, but it really is a deck that requires my opening hand to be super strong. I need to be able to get out a life gain card at the very beginning, and if I don't, then I know that all right, we need to go back and figure out what's going on. And it's a harder deck to play than Edgar Markov, because Edgar Markov is the best vampire commander, period. You have him, you have a way to produce more vampires, it's a really solid commander card. I like Lycia because I like her design, but also I think that when you have the components of her that work, it's an exceptionally strong deck. When you do have life gain, you're able to play her out really easily. Even though she costs 5, 6, even though she costs 7 on paper, if you have any sort of life gain components, you are gonna pay cheaper for her. Sometimes I have had situations where I have enough life gain stuff going on where I only pay the 3 colors to get her out. It's just that you need to have your colors set up, and I am poor. I'm still pretty broke when it comes to Magic, so I need to get those components so I can be a little bit stronger. And also, I'm one of those people who has a hard time killing my darlings. There are some cards I just want to play because I'm that card is cute, I like it, I want to have it. I blame me, not this deck. It's my fault. I'm the bad guy, duh. This is one of the few decks where I actually have a lot of pretty cool win cons. I have Test of Endurance, I have the combo of Sanguine Blood and Exquisite Blood, and of course Aetherflux Reservoir, pew pew. So this deck has a lot of things built into it that are really strong, that can get me good combo wins, but like I said before, I really need to have a strong opening hand and to really just play smart. Math is for blockers, but math is also important when you're trying to figure out how to manage all that life you're gaining. So it's a deck that I am using to challenge myself to become a smarter player. Thank you for watching this video. I know a lot of people have subscribed to me because of Magic the Gathering, and I'm thinking about what Magic content to start doing. I am currently planning on filming some beginner Magic games with my friends. I've been teaching them how to play Commander, doing my part to build the community, and I'm gonna build them all like weird janky themed decks and we're gonna play, but that's gonna be probably later in August because I have to buy the cards, sleeve the cards. I'm doing it with my own money based on Patreon, so like thank you everyone who supports me on Patreon. But if you have any other things you want me to discuss in Magic or about Magic, let me know down below because I would love to do more of those videos. I think that these kind of segments are a little bit more fun to do, and while I love doing video essays and more like, you know, sharp lens stuff, I also like being able to have casual conversations, and I think that way I get to interact more with you guys, you get more content, and I get to have the diversity of content that I enjoy making as a creator. So it's a win-win. Anyway, I hope you enjoy, and again, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know any suggestions for any future Magic content that you guys have, because I'm really open to trying out new things and testing new waters and doing a bunch of other stuff. There are so many other great Magic people, so I'm just happy to be a part of such a great, you know, environment of creators like really going out of their way to actually build up the diversity. So that feels really cool, really excited about it. So yeah, go watch all of the amazing content creators out there. I'll link to a bunch of people that I love down below if you don't know Magic, so you can maybe get into it. So yeah, we're doing more of this soon.